Good evening, Fernwood. It is your advocacy Uncle Neil here, and it's time for us to stand together with another episode of Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman. Today we are watching episode 280 from December 10th, 1976. It's the end of a week. We're at Friday. It's been a really tough week, so let's take a look at yesterday. Tom was so excited in the morning, even dancing a jig because Tom and Mary were set to go to the country club. He rushes her out and finds her wearing the same dress that she always wears. Mary notes his disappointment, and that starts a bit of a yelling match, at least from Tom's side. Tom gets tense with Mary, and Mary does everything that she can to please him, except that she doesn't have time to change, so they rush off. Next door at the Shumways, Martha is preparing for Christmas by baking cookies. Kathy shows up with an armload of presents and names off all of the people that she's giving presents to, including Martha. Martha mentions that her new job is to play a hooker for the Fernwood Police Department so that they can catch Johns. Kathy says that with the money that's coming in, she shouldn't need to do that, but Martha is firm that she doesn't want any of the money coming from the Adamses. And this leads to a discussion of the fact that Kathy is selling the baby. Kathy doesn't really know what to do since she's under contract at this point, but she does know that she needs to comfort her mother. Someone who is briefly comfortable is Patty next door, who is doing laundry again as she gets a surprise visit from her husband Garth. Garth notes that she is washing little Garth's sheets again and angrily chides her for it, and then he goes into the bathroom and we see Pat hearing him discover the urine-soaked pajamas. Pat explains that little Garth is having some stress, but this does not de-escalate Garth's anger, and it heightens to a threat. Garth says something to the effect of, "You're killing me, and if I go, you're going to go first." He leaves, leaving Pat to think of what she has to do. That night we end up at the Capri Lounge with Loretta singing her ballad of a prom queen, just longing for Charlie. In the audience are HB and Martha, who Loretta barely recognizes since she's in her hooker getup. Then Merle offers a plan that might help Loretta find Charlie, and that is to sing for his campaign on television. Loretta discourages any kind of sexual shenanigans from Merle, but Merle responds by saying that he's getting married to Wanda, at which point Loretta is quite thrilled and then immediately remembers her boundaries. Loretta is still not quite sure that she should sing at the campaign. Merle then offers that she could sing at his wedding. She's happy to do that and asks what kind of song she should sing. And that's where we ended yesterday, everyone. Let's take a look at how this week ends. Talk about it later.
Mary Hartman! Mary Hartman!
Well, how have you been?
Fine. Just fine. Really fine. Just not totally fine. Have a little problem.
Oh, what's that?
Rape. How do you feel about rape?
Well, in Deuteronomy 22, verses 25 to 27, the death penalty is imposed by the law. And for rape, that's what happened to the Benjamites when they raped the servant of Levite.
There was a gang rape in the Bible? You see, Doctor, my rape is, though, a little different kind of a rape. My rape was a one-to-one rape by my very caring husband.
Your husband raped you?
Almost. Almost raped me. Not quite, but almost. Mostly because I have this incredible crackerjack mind in case of an emergency. Now, what happened is this. Just before the actual rape, I stopped him by putting my knees in a place that I really don't want to mention because I don't know what they called in the Bible.
I find this very disturbing, Mrs. Hartman.
I know. Dr. Medwick, now, I know you specialize in sex, but does the Bible say anything about women's clothing?
Deuteronomy 22 again, verse 5. The woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man.
Slacks? Oh, my God, it's a sin to wear slacks? I never knew that. Oh, well, I hardly ever wear them anyway. In fact, never. Isn't it amazing how something in me always knew? Let me ask you another question, Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything in there about the Jones?
Well, there's Jonas. You don't mean Jonas.
No. I mean the Joneses, as in keeping up with the Jonesies.
Here, how about Exodus 20, verse 17? Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's.
No. First of all, our house isn't big enough. Secondly, I don't think that Tom would covet Mr. Donnelly's ox or his ass because I try to maintain a very strict rule, no animals in the house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think the Bible is clearly against keeping up with the Joneses.
You see, it's not only Tom I'm worried about. I mean, it's everybody else, too. Now, I know you're in sex, but something's wrong. I mean, the whole town of Fernwood is going a little crazy here, I think.
Yes, here, Mrs. Hartman, how's this?
What?
The fearful and unbelieving and the abominable and murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars.
That is amazing. It is amazing how much the Fernwood Courier steals from the Bible. I mean, that description is perfect. It makes me so sad.
Here, Mrs. Hartman, listen to this. Here in Hebrews 13, verse 4,
Yeah.
But whoremongers and adulterers God will judge.
No. Look, no judgment, please, okay? No, I'm sure this is all a mistake, okay? I'll just talk to some people and we'll fix it, okay? I'll talk to some. In fact, I'll talk to Merle. He is an adulterer running for mayor. A race. He is running for mayor, and I will just talk to him about what's wrong, okay?
The Lord will smite thee with the botch of Egypt.
The botch of Egypt? No, I don't think that'll be necessary. We'll talk first and then botch, if necessary.
The botch of Egypt, and with emerods, and with the scab and the itch.
The scab and the itch? Is that like the heartbreak of psoriasis? My God, that Bible has something for everyone. What a good book. You know, they should seriously consider condensing that into the Reader's Digest. I mean, a lot of it sounds too long anyway.
Happy is the man that findeth wisdom, and the man that getteth understanding. Proverbs 3:13.
What does the Bible say about upward mobility?
I don't think that term is ever used in the Bible.
Upward mobility. I think that's what my problem is. You see, Doctor, my husband wants us to be something we're not. I'm not sure I like it.
And now I'd like to present a lovely lady. She's an indelible inspiration, living proof that the heart has not gone out of the country. The country has not lost its heart.
I gotta go, Jody, and goodbye and God be with you, okay? God be with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's the best and the brightest singing star that ever comes shining out of Fernwood, Ohio, Loretta Haggers. Okay, thank you. Singing real pretty, darling.
Thank you, Merle. Oh, howdy, and hello to all my fans and friends and voters out there, and to a special someone who I know is listening. And I just want you to know that I wrote you this special verse tonight, and I want you to listen real good now. Here. Charlie, baby, boy, hear me, 'cause I want you to know that wild Chevy driver, I told him to go. So that wild Chevy driver, he done gone with the breeze. but I need you, my Charlie, oh my sweet antifreeze. And that's not all, darling. You're a whole lot more. So I won't sell my prom dress to the Salvation Army if you say that you'll just come home. Stay by my side, dear, let me hug you and love you, 'cause together is where we belong. You bet your bottom dollar, darling, it's where you belong.
See, 'cause if I jump myself, then I don't get to go to heaven. You just back off over there. When I give you the signal, you just back off over there, and then you come over and you just kind of nudge me, see? Only you got to do it. I've got to pretend like I don't even know you're there, see? And that's the way the plan's got to go. I'll just turn on this radio here, and I'll sit here and pretend like I am fishing for eels. Please, Lord, I just this one favor, huh? I mean, it's the last. You know, it's the last I'm ever going to ask you. So just do it this once for me, huh? Because you know, Loretta and me was a marriage made in heaven. Heaven's the only place it's ever going to work. On account of my condition, it ain't going to work down here. So just please do it for me, Lord. It's, how can you refuse, you know?
'Cause I want you to know that wild Chevy driver, I told him to go. So that wild Chevy driver, he done gone with the breeze. But I need you, my Charlie, oh my sweet antifreeze.
Is that the voice of an angel?
Darling, you're a whole lot.
Is that the voice of an angel?
So I won't
Loretta!
prom dress to the Salvation Army.
Listen to that.
If you
Listen,
say
don't you see?
that you'll just
Loretta!
come home.
No, hey, Charlie, baby boy.
Hey, Sue, it's a miracle,
Yeah,
Sue.
yeah.
Loretta was singing to me on the radio.
Loretta, yeah.
She wants me to come home.
Oh.
She kicked Jody out. She wants me to come back. She loves me. We gotta find her, Sue.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
are we?
Oh,
Where are we?
here,
Hey,
on
how
the-
did you find us? Sue, how are you?
Okay, Charlie,
How
Charlie.
did you know where I was?
It's another miracle. Hey, let's get you out of this gloom suit here and go over to the travel lodge. I got a room for you over there.
Yeah, but-
I hope you're not carrying matches. Come on.
How many of those have you had today?
There's three. Usually after one, I just stop. But hey, I got to tell you something, Charlie. I belong to a family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean when I say my kind of family.
Yeah.
What?
So, like a mother and a father and 3 kids and
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're religious. 5 kids.
No. Anyway, it's a family, and the only reason I'm in the family is because of my uncle, who happens to be the father.
Your uncle's your father?
My uncle, he's kind of a father.
Oh, you mean like a father figure?
Anyway,
I
look,
can understand that.
I'm in the family because of my uncle, because when I was growing up, it was kind of a cafon. I mean, they didn't want me around,
Well, I know, Sue. I know how that is when you're unpopular. I've been through that. I mean, when you start losing your hair and you're 14 and a half years old.
Anyway,
people-
my family is in all kinds of big business, and like meat packing and trucking and hotels and parking and entertainment. And I tried the meat packing, and I tried the trucking, and I tried the parking. I tried the hotels.
That leaves the entertainment. Loretta.
Oh, Dear the Benedetto Charlie, if I could bring one big star into the family, then my uncle,
The uncle who is your father.
whoever. Anyway, Charlie, I just want to be somebody in his eyes. And I think maybe Loretta could help me out this way, you know?
Yeah. Loretta.
Charlie, You know, a lot of the things that are wrong with people, the doctors, they say it could be like a, psychological, in the head.
Sue, where this comes from is the barrel of a shotgun. It doesn't come from your head.
Well, wait, now, you told me you still got one. Huh?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean now. It could be a pair, psychological.
Nuts.
What?
That's what everyone said.
What?
I mean, that's even what Loretta said. She said I didn't give it a chance.
Well, hey, did you give it a chance, Charlie?
Well, did I give it a chance? Of course I... What do you think I am? Of course I gave... I'll tell you something. There was this one night.
Yeah.
You ready for this? There was this one night...
Give me my favorite ear.
You want any?
Honey,
What's wrong?
there's nothing happening.
What do you mean there's nothing happening? We're just making out like crazy like we used to.
I know, honey, but there's absolutely nothing happening. I mean, I thought I could get my head back to where I could believe that the miserable disability just didn't exist. But there isn't anything happening. That's the truth.
Well, don't get yourself all downcast about it. It's all right.
Well, it ain't no good, honey. I mean, I ain't 2 cents worth of use to you. And that is the cold and the honest truth.
Charlie Haggers, you listen to me. I don't ever want to hear you talking like that again. Now, you stop at this instantaneous instant. Do you hear me? Now, the whole thing, it was probably my fault on account of the fact that I got so hot and bothered and everything. I was rushing around, rushing you, and putting too much pressure on you.
Well, it's nice of you to try and take the blame. But you can't. Just no way you can change what is.
You can if what is foolishness, Charlie. And that's what it is. Because all this talk about disabilities and this and that and the other, it's pure, plain, unpainted foolishness, okay? Now look, just because we tried it this one time and it didn't work, that doesn't mean we can try it again, because that would be quitting. And if I know Charlie Haggers that I'm married and love deeply, he ain't no quitter.
You know, you could. You are more inspiring than the Statue of Liberty and Old Glory Flying. You really are. You could talk a Spavine mule with a swayback into winning the Kentucky Derby. You're right. Charlie Haggers is no quitter.
Now that is the Charlie speaking his peace of mind that I love.
And that is because I have set my mind to be the kind of husband that a female, feminine woman like you deserves.
I like that talking.
There's time for talking, and there's a time for doing. Take a piece of ear. There's nothing yet, honey.
I don't care what you say anymore, man. I'm gonna get you a new suit, and then you're gonna go back to the woman that you love. That's what's gonna happen.
Sue, that ain't it. I told you, I know what Loretta needs, and I ain't it, not in the condition
How do you
I'm
know?
in.
How do you know? I don't know. Look, it could still be psychological, like I said before.
I told you that I tried to set my head straight.
Yeah, you tried. What did you try? Look, you're looking down all the time. You're thinking down so much that you are down.
But what am I supposed to do?
Well, look at you over here, like a strupiad. If I took you and got you a haircut and a manicure...
I never had a manicure in my life.
You never had a manicure, you never had a pedicure either, I suppose. I'm going to get you both of those things right now, and then we're going to go out and get you some underwear, like you never saw before, in a new suit.
Oh, you gotta be kidding. Oh, come on, you're putting me on. Merle, you're not serious.
That's exactly what Garth Gimble said. But I am serious. I think it's exactly what the people want.
Oh, Merle, what the people want and what they'll vote for is the difference between a dark horse and a dead duck. It's day and night.
Oh, all right, so it's day and night. So maybe this is a sunrise, something right there in between where everything's all the same. I think this is going to be a new beginning, a new middle way.
Oh, Merle, there's no middle way to jump off a cliff. Now, what you're talking about, it's suicide, plain and simple.
Plain and simple, huh? That's good. I like
Oh,
that.
Merle, please don't do it for my sake, or for your own, or even Fernwood's.
Wanda, look, will you please tell me something? Are you standing behind me supporting me, or you're standing behind me holding me back? Now, which is it?
You're on, Mr. Cheater.
I'm sitting here on TV, looking out at you, you there in your homes, watching on your tubes. And I'm asking you, well, I might even say I'm begging you for your vote. But I have to say, and you can count on it like you can count on very few things on this earth, if I didn't think I deserved your vote, I wouldn't ask for it. Now, it might seem strange for me to say something that sounds as immodest as that, and then turn right around and in the next breath tell you that I'm a modest man, that I'm a humble man, but that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm telling you, I'm a modest and humble man. Now, I'm not going to try to prove that to you. I'm not even going to try to prove to you that I'm the best candidate for mayor here. What I am going to do is I'm just going to let you decide that for your own self. Now, how am I going to do that? Now, I believe that Americans have the unique ability to look into a man's eyes, deeply into his eyes, and read his soul. They can look into his eyes and they can read his mind. And when they do that, when they look into his eyes, they know in their own hearts whether he's a candidate for them or not. So I'm going to ask you to look into my eyes. I think you'll be able to read my heart, my soul, my mind. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to sit right here for a couple of minutes. I'm not going to say anything, not going to open my mouth. And if you'll just stay with me, I think at the end of that time, you'll decide for yourself the answer to the question, isn't Merle Jeter, and I'll take the time to say that name one more time, Merle Jeter. Isn't he really the best man for the job? Thank you.
That was hypnotic. So we start with Mary talking to Dr. Medwick about what is going on in her life. It seems like the two layers of Mary's issues with Tom are the sexual assault and that Tom wants to keep up with the Joneses. I'm glad that we didn't just drop the rape scene. I think it's still difficult for me to talk about, but I'm glad that it's in the conversation. Even 45 years later, it's mildly better, but not better. I mean, not. It's still quite difficult. So I'm going to leave the sexual assault for us right now because I can't elaborate on it. So then keeping up with the Joneses. And I wonder if the conversation had been more calm between Tom and Mary, would she be okay and would she be willing to keep up with the Joneses a bit? Upward mobility. And maybe she wouldn't be. Maybe she still wants to just be a housewife. But we saw all last season how she dreamed of a better life. Maybe she didn't dream of it going this far. Not a lot of progress is in this scene, but we are actually just getting the stepping stone just to know where Mary is. Then it's Merle's campaign. He introduces Loretta, who is kissing Jody goodbye. I wasn't sure. That was a fairly intense goodbye kiss. But she has kissed Jody goodbye. And she's singing to reach out to Charlie, the ballad of a prom queen. And we cut to Charlie, who it seems like has been sitting with that wolf dog on that bridge for a couple days worth of episodes. I want to say it's been at least a day. I think at least one night has passed since we saw really any characters. He definitely hasn't shaven at this point. So lucky to have that dog to keep him there just a little bit longer. Incredibly, even more lucky that he could hear Loretta's voice. And the dog leaves. And then Sue is mysteriously there. Now, we can't explain how Sue found him, but he did. And then we see Sue and Charlie, and Sue tries to explain his family background, and Charlie doesn't get it at all, which tickles me. Sue is gonna stand with Charlie. He, of course, wants to get Loretta under his wing, and he explains that. You know, I feel like he's just trying to please the Godfather. We see a flashback. Charlie shares one of his last lovemaking attempts with Loretta, and Sue turns it around and says, "You haven't really tried anything." I agree with Sue in this case. I think Charlie is, again, very lucky to have someone to stand with him, so they're going to get him a makeover, make him a new man. I'm not sure that that is necessarily the answer, but it's a step forward, and sometimes you just need to keep walking. And then campaign controversy, and Wanda is just shocked at what Merle's plan is. And of course that plan is to stand in front of the TV and let people look into his eyes. As I mentioned earlier, quite hypnotic. I loved the warning that said that there's nothing wrong with your television. Merle Jeter just wants you to look into his eyes and vote for him for mayor. And I wonder how this plays in, because he introduced himself as a humble man. And I wonder if this plays into the Carter campaign, and of course the controversy over his Playboy interview, which has been referenced during this campaign over the last few weeks. Carter had been elected at this point, and of course he only served one term, but you wouldn't know that at the beginning of his first term. And as much good as Carter is seen with through today's eyes, he went through some controversy. And I wish I knew more about that. I was a little bit too young to understand. I still really don't understand what the difference was. I mean, the next president would be Reagan, and I don't want to talk about that. But that last, I want to say it was a minute of just Merle's face, is unlike anything I think I've seen on television. I feel like, what is that? It's someone making a bold choice. And I don't mean Merle, I mean the creative team behind the show is saying, we're gonna break a rule here. we're going to have someone not talk for a long time. So yeah, that is the end of the 10th week of Mary Hartman season 2. I get the feeling that things are going to go explosively soon. And I look forward to watching with you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and comments down below. Y'all, I'm glad that we can do this together. We will see you next week in Fernwood.